This is my note card. This is the back. And this is my ID. And then can everybody just wave to the camera? Imagine you're back in high school and everyone has the newest, coolest clothes except for you. Imagine how that might make you feel. But if your school had a uniform policy, all of this discomfort may have been avoided. Today I'm going to explain to you why all high schools should utilize a uniform policy. You may be thinking, I'm in college now. How does this apply to me? Well, someday you may find yourself working in the education field, or you may be looking for a school for your future children, and this information may come in handy. That being said, I've done extensive research on this topic, coupled with my 7 years of firsthand experience having attended a school that utilized uniforms. Today I'm going to explain to you the benefits of uniforms, the solution of implementing uniforms in schools, and help you to visualize a school environment where all students are wearing uniforms. First, let's talk about the main problem. That is that some schools don't require students to wear uniforms, so that they're missing out on the benefits that other students get by going to schools that do require uniforms. If you go to the next slide, you'll see an infographic with some of the benefits of wearing uniforms in schools. One of these benefits is going to be increased cohesion throughout the student body. And it's also going to help reduce bullying due to socioeconomic factors that cause some students to have nicer and newer clothing than others. In the Nord Anglia International School article, The Benefits of School Uniforms and Why Schools Have Them, from July 24th of 2020, the article explains that while using a uniform can stifle self-expression, it also stops students from being bullied for expressing themselves in a way that makes them different from their peers. In the Nevada Today article, School Uniform Study, College of Education researchers conduct a study on uniform impacts from April 23rd of 2013. They found that after instituting a uniform, discipline referrals decreased by 10%. And they also found that in another school police reports decreased by 63% after instituting a uniform. Furthermore, in the verywellfamily.com article, The Pros and Cons of School Uniforms for Students, from January 3rd of 2021, author Amy Morin explains that attendance rates and punctuality are also something that's going to increase when a school switches to uniforms. Some of these benefits are things that students are missing out on if they go to schools that don't have uniforms. Next, I'm going to explain to you how schools can go about implementing uniforms. In the Study International article, Why More American Schools Should Be Using Uniforms, from April 5th of 2021, they explain that schools are switching to uniforms increasingly more every year. In 2016, 21.5% of all public schools were using uniforms, and this was a 13.8% increase from 2006, which shows that schools more and more are switching to uniforms. They also talk about the modern uniform, which gives students options in what they want to wear. If you go to the next slide, you can see an example of this. In the modern uniform, students are allowed to pick between skirts, pants, shorts, and various colored blouses. And this helps them to have a better sense of self-expression. In the procon.org article, Should Students Have to Wear Uniforms, from May 3rd of 2021, 54% of students said that they were still able to express themselves after switching to uniforms due to the modern uniform and being able to accessorize their uniform in various ways. In the AASA article, Dress Code Adoption, A Year's Worth of Steps by Matt Busig, he explains that switching to a uniform is not an immediate process. He says that it takes time and research to figure out what uniform policy will work best for the school, and that they need to talk to students, parents, and teachers to figure out what will be best. Now that we know about how to go about implementing a uniform policy, let's visualize a school environment with uniforms and without them. First, let's talk about a school environment without uniforms. A school that doesn't have uniforms is going to see an increase in bullying as the socioeconomic gap continues to increase. More and more students every year will find that they're being bullied due to not having the same stuff as other students. They're also going to miss out on a multitude of the other benefits. On the other hand, schools with uniforms are going to see increased student success and more benefits, which can be seen on the next slide in the infographic. In the peer-reviewed study, Reviewing School Uniforms Through the Public Health Lens by Joanna Reedy from June 6th of 2021, she explains that switching to uniforms helps to promote an environment that fosters academic success. She also explains that a school with uniforms is going to see increased school security and student safety. Imagine your high school experience with all of these benefits. Think of how much easier it would have been and how much happier you would have been. All future students who switch to uniforms would be able to have all of these things. Think of how much more they'd be able to accomplish. Now that you know some of the benefits of wearing uniforms, I hope that you all now see how important it is for students to wear uniforms in school. I urge you to call your local school board and encourage them to switch to uniforms. And in the future, I hope that you send your children to schools that require uniforms. To recap, first we talked about the benefits of wearing uniforms. Then we talked about the importance of the steps required to switch to uniforms. And lastly, we visualized a school environment where students are wearing uniforms. This topic is important to me because I went to a school that had uniforms for 7 years and I found it integral to my academic success, especially compared to going to a school that didn't have them. Again, I want you to imagine what it'll be like for future students, how much happier they'll be. Especially if you had a bad high school experience, just think of how great theirs could be and all the things that they could accomplish. Thank you for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
In your experience, how did uniforms affect your daily life?
I found that when I was wearing a uniform, I was able to get ready quicker in the mornings. That was a big advantage for me because I could sleep in more and it just kind of made me feel more energetic. And it just reduced a lot of stress in the morning around picking out an outfit. I was just able to kind of pull something out of my closet and I was always wearing kind of a similar outfit, so I thought that it was just a lot easier.
Do you think uniforms could benefit middle school or elementary kids?
I do. So when I was wearing a uniform, I wore them in middle school and high school, and I found that the effects in middle school and high school were a lot the same, and that it limited competition over who had better clothing. I think in elementary school it's a little bit different because a lot of elementary school kids still have their parents picking out their clothing, but it does stop. Some kids are going to be wearing things that are cooler, or they're getting to choose on their own, and you're still getting to kind of learn what you want to wear, and you're going through that awkward phase, and wearing uniforms just kind of stops all of that bullying and the distraction around what one person's wearing versus what another one is wearing.
How do you think that you expressed yourself when you wore a uniform?
For me, a lot of it was wearing accessories. And that would be different things for me. As I went through my years of wearing uniforms, a lot of these things changed. I started out by always wearing a fun headband, and then it switched to I would wear a necklace, and then it was fun socks, and it kind of always changed as to what thing each year it was for me. But I think one of the main things that kind of stayed throughout my experience with uniforms, and I know a lot of kids at my school felt like was important to them, was we got to choose our own backpack. So everybody's backpack was kind of like a self-expression kind of thing. Like I had a black backpack that had like sparkles on it, and like I have kind of a more like sparkly fun personality, which you can't really show as much when you're wearing a uniform, but then when you get to have those like little things that it gets to shine through on. And dress down days are a really big part of that too, because then every now and then you get to show your own style, and you still get the benefits of having a uniform all the time.
Do you think by wearing a uniform, it helps save your family some money in a way?
I definitely think it did. Honestly, from 6th grade to my senior year of high school, I wore a lot of the same uniforms. I didn't really change it very much. I kind of stayed with the same style. And each year I'd probably buy another uniform or two. But instead of having to have like an outfit for every single day or something to keep changing it up, it just wasn't as big of a concern. I could wear a uniform from when I was a freshman or a brand new one, and it was a lot the same. So I didn't have to have an entire wardrobe of things to wear to school, and then I could just have things that I would wear outside of school. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, cool. Thank you guys so much for watching.